despite us being basically all out of the race for Europe now, and the season petering out, West Ham are in the news a fair bit, I think it's fair to say. It's understandable. The future of David Moyes is still, well, I thought it was clear. I thought it was pretty obvious, but that seems to be changing a little bit. I'll talk about it in a second, but we're also getting linked to a lot of players. We're getting linked to every manager. We're getting linked to all kinds of stuff, aren't we, at the club? And we will just seem to always be in the news at the moment, even when it's sort of ex-players talking about us. We had Stuart Pearce the other day on a podcast with Sam Allardyce. Now, I don't know if you've seen it. It's like, I think it's called the No Tippy Tappy Football Podcast. So Sam Allardyce's thing. As you'll know on this, I'm really not a fan of Allardyce at all. I'm grateful for what he did at West Ham in terms of, thanks for getting us up, etc., etc. But as a man, I genuinely just can't stand the bloke. And Stuart Pearce was on that and talking about West Ham and sort of basically having a bit of a dig at the fans, which we seem to be getting from all quarters of the media, don't we, at the moment? Basically, be careful what you wish for, and basically that we're being a bit ungrateful towards David Moyes. But it just seems to be a running thing. We seem to be everywhere at the moment. So rather than do sort of individual videos at the moment on one particular topic, I thought I'd do like a general update. And this is really coming from ExWHU employees, but he's provided an update on our Patreon channel. The link below, by the way, if you're not a Patreon, just go and click on that. It's honestly brilliant content on there. And also you get exclusive news directly and you get it there earlier as well, because I'm obviously reading this news, getting it from X and speaking to him, and then I record this. So it's a little bit behind. So really, if you want to get the news at your fingertips and get more of it, then make sure that you visit our Patreon channel. Anyway, so X has provided a bit of an update on a couple of things. One being David Moyes, as I said. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but also provided like a general view of what West Ham's thinking is at the moment in terms of the transfer market for the summer. Now, bearing in mind, we've got a really uneasy and uncertain time in regards to the future of our manager. So it's quite difficult, isn't it, for the club to be honing in on key targets. So I can kind of understand this update because basically it's based around players that are going to be available in the summer, i.e. out of contract. Look, I'm not having a go at the club for this. I don't think it's a bad strategy to have a look into this market, but I've got to admit, listening to the X update was a little bit underwhelming. It almost felt a little bit like same old. Do you know what I mean? It was hard to be excited by it, but I'm not going to go over everything X says. I've said, earlier. If you want to do that, then go and jump onto the Patreon. But basically, I've taken a few notes down. We're after this Tosin Adebayo of Fulham. Now we know about him. We've reported on this before, and this is what I'm happy about. I've got to be honest. I think he's a very good defender. There are a host of clubs after him, so it's all I'm saying is it's not going to be an easy pursuit for the club to bring him in. But that's a decent update. I'm happy with that. I think fair enough, and and I'm glad that we're exploring that option. And I can't be disappointed. But I've got to admit, the other names that are coming out don't really excite me. I do make me sort of feel like I'm hoping this is more of a squad building kind of pursuit rather than being key targets. So first of all, looking at Josh Brownhill of Burnley. I believe his contract expires this summer, but they've got a year. They've got an option to extend it, so they're going to extend it, of course, because they want to bring in some money for him. But it looks like he's going to be leaving the club. Now, Brownhill's a decent player. I'm not knocking him. He's been a decent player for Burnley. But when you think of West Ham now, and when we think about where we want to go, right, we want to be pushing next season. We want a big summer change. We know we want a new manager in. We want to see the club push forward. You don't really want to see being linked with Josh Brownhill, as I say, if that's the case of being a first-team player. He ain't going to come to West Ham otherwise, surely, to be sitting on the bench. That's what concerns me. But anyway, Lloyd Kelly, Bournemouth, again, not a bad player. I'm not knocking Lloyd Kelly, but again, it doesn't excite me. I don't sit there and go, I'm thrilled with this link. I'm just trying to go, okay, fine. These are okay, decent players-ish, average players at best, I would say, in the Premier League. Talking about, but having said that, X did say regarding to Kelly that he would be seen as a replacement for Ogbonna, a long-term replacement. So, okay, and Ogbonna, as we know, isn't like a key figure in terms of an automatic starter for West Ham. So look, it might not be too bad for us. Ndidi of Leicester, well, they just got promoted, so I'm not sure exactly, but I know he's out of contract, but whether he'll want to sign a new deal there, I'm not sure. Look, again, he's an okay player, he's been all right, but I've never really been that sold on him, really. All right, he's not a player that's really thrilled me and got me excited by him. At the end of the day, he went down the Championship and no one came in for him. So I think that's always a bit of a sign with the sort of player what you're talking about there. Iniacho as well. a player again we've been linked with loads of times. Had such a huge pursuit, didn't we, that summer that we ended up losing him out to him to Leicester. I think with West Ham were just too slow again, if my memory serves me correct. And then we've got Shay Adams of Southampton. Now, look, again, I'm not having a go at him. Decent player, Shay Adams, again, but I don't want that to be our option for a striker. I don't want West Ham to go, that's the guy we want. That's the man we want to replace Antonio or to be our main striker. I just don't want that. I want to see West Ham pursuing better targets than this. I've got to be honest. It's my opinion. Some people will be watching this probably thinking I'm being ungrateful, being a bit moany. I'm not. I'm just saying how I feel. I got the update from X and I just thought, oh, really? Is that honestly the players we're being linked with? You know, but the club are working behind the scenes. I understand it's hard. I do get it with not knowing who the manager's going to be. I get it. But having said that, we've brought in Tim Steidten, right, to be this director of football, to have a head coach working under him. It's the whole point of this change of manager that we're possibly going to be happening. And it kind of, I find it quite strange now that we're in a position where we can't now do business. We're struggling to identify key targets because we don't know who the manager's going to be at the moment. So it's typical West Ham, and it always feels like we shoot ourselves in the foot. It's always us causing the confusion, us causing the delay, rather than just being decisive. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. The indecisiveness of this football club drives me bonkers, and this is what you get. This kind of like muddied water approach to everything. Oh, we're not quite sure the players we want. We're not quite sure. Just make a bloody decision. If you're going to get rid of David Moyes, make it. So on to David Moyes. Let's talk about it. I'm going to be honest. I've been pretty certain for the last probably 3-ish weeks now that David Moyes is leaving at the end of the season. I'm pretty certain, certain of that, right? And I haven't changed my opinion. I still feel that's the case. I still believe that he will go in the summer. But I'll tell you what, the certainty around that is slightly wavering. And that's just because of X's update. So he's now said, and by the way, I just want a disclaimer here, right? Before people say to me, you're a Moyes in, you're happy with this. I'm really not, okay? I really want to make it very clear. I want to see a change. I really do want to see a different manager at this football club. That's how I do feel. But all I'm saying is I try not to have like a sort of, a real anger and a hatred towards David Moyes. I don't have that. I just find, I find him really frustrating and I do want to see a change, but I don't have that sort of level that some others do. That's all it is, right? So I want to make it very clear, as I say, that I do want to see a change of manager. But listening to ExWHUEmployee's update, it's not certain. It's not as certain as I thought it was. So X has made it very clear. He's been saying it throughout the season, to be fair, that the club are going to sit down with David Moyes at the end of the season. David Sullivan and David Moyes will sit down and they will make a decision. And it's going to be very prompt at the end of the season. And they will make a decision between them of what they're going to do. Because from what he was saying, his language, X, and his update was basically saying that the club are cautious of it. They want to make sure they're making the right decision. They're not just going to go with a change of manager. They're going to make the call at the end of the season and then decide what they want to do. There's even talk, right? This is honestly what he said, that the club have spoken to another manager about being our manager in a couple of seasons' time. So a younger manager that they're going to say. I mean, by the way, he did say take this with a pinch of salt because it was from a source that is not necessarily the most reliable. However, those sort of things give me concerns. Like I'm sitting there thinking now, so all I'm saying is it seems to be there's a slight chance David Moyes will remain. I don't think he will. I genuinely don't. I've got this feeling he will go. But I'm not, well, when I say got this feeling, I'm relatively sure on it. But there's now a little slight doubt that's actually going to happen. But look, we'll see. It wasn't the best update from X this week. I've got to be honest. I listened to it. I don't even know. I'm not from him. It was very comprehensive as always. But just in terms of the actual news itself, do you know what I mean? It was a bit like uncertainty, the typical West Ham uncertainty. We don't know. We're going to make a decision soon. We're here. The decision's going to be made. We'll just make it. No, we're going to make it soon. And as I say, the players really linked with, I can't not be a little bit, disheartened with it. But that's not to say, look, this is not going to be an exciting time for the club. If West Ham do go ahead and change manager and do give Tim Steidten more control, and then we go out and sort of try and build this younger side, more hungry and something that's going to be a bit more exciting to watch, then look, this could be a really exciting summer ahead. But my word, it's certainly not certain.